There's a common misconception that procrastination is always bad for us. But here's the thing, sometimes it can actually be a good thing. Because despite what we all think, there are certain times where delaying things can actually end up benefiting us in the long run. So here are 4 situations where procrastinating can actually be a good thing. Welcome to the channel. Number 1, when you need to take a break. We were not meant to work 24/7. In fact, if you look around you in nature, you'll find that everything takes a break at some point. Even the sun sets every night so that it can rise again the next morning. And this is because everything needs time to recover, recharge, and prepare itself for the next phase. If you constantly ignore these signs and try to push yourself even further, then you're going to eventually burn out. There are countless studies that show just how detrimental this can be for your overall well-being. Your mental health will deteriorate and you will start to feel miserable even when doing the things that you are supposed to enjoy. This is why sometimes you just need to take a break. Maybe you don't feel like working on that project or finishing that assignment right now, but you know that forcing yourself to do it would only make things worse. So you decide to procrastinate and put it off until tomorrow. And that's okay, because by doing that, you're giving yourself the time that you need to rest. You might be surprised by how much more motivated and productive you will be after taking a simple break. Number 2, when you don't understand something. A big reason why we procrastinate is because we're afraid of failure, and part of that is due to our brain being hardwired to avoid pain. This is why whenever we come across a task that we don't quite understand or one that we think is too challenging, we tend to put it off. We know that it's gonna take a lot of effort to complete, so we simply choose not to do it. But here's the thing, sometimes this is actually a good thing. Let's say you're learning a new skill. For example, let's pick up playing the piano. If you're having trouble with a particular song, you'll probably reach a point where you just want to give up. Maybe you have been practicing for hours and you are just getting frustrated because it doesn't sound good no matter what you try. So you procrastinate and decide to practice something else instead. And although it might seem like a setback, it can actually be beneficial. By taking a step back from the thing that's frustrating you, you're giving yourself the time that you need to gain a new perspective. Now when you come back to it, you'll be able to approach it in a different way. You'll be more relaxed and you'll be able to see the problem from a different angle. You won't get as frustrated as easily and you'll be more likely to succeed. 3. When you're tired, our brain needs energy to function properly. Without it, we're more likely to make mistakes, have difficulty concentrating, and generally not perform at our best. That is why sometimes it is better to procrastinate and wait until we have the energy to do something rather than forcing ourselves to do it when we are exhausted. Take driving, for example. If you're tired, it's probably not the best idea to hit the road. You'll be slower to react, which could be dangerous for you and everyone else on the road. That's why sometimes it's better to pull over and take a nap before continuing on. Similarly, if you're trying to learn something new or complete a challenging task, it's probably not the best idea to do it when you're tired. You're not going to be able to focus and you're more likely to make mistakes. So instead, it's better to procrastinate and wait until you have the energy to do it properly. Of course, this doesn't mean that you should just procrastinate all the time. There's such a thing as being too comfortable, so it is important to find a balance between knowing when to take a break and when to push through. Number 4, when you're uncertain about something. One of the main reasons why we procrastinate is because we're afraid of making the wrong decision. When we're faced with a choice, we have to weigh the pros and cons and try to predict what is going to happen in the future. But since nobody has a crystal ball, we often end up feeling stuck and unsure of what to do, and this is where procrastination can be beneficial. Sometimes by delaying the decision, we give ourselves the time that we need to gather more information or to change our perspective. We can look at the situation from different angles and consider all of our options. This can help us to make a more informed decision, one that we're more likely to be happy with. For example, let's say you're thinking about quitting your job to pursue a new career path. This is a big decision that will have a major impact on your life. So you procrastinate and decide to keep working while you continue to explore your options. By doing this, you're giving yourself the time that you need to figure out what you really want. You won't feel the pressure of having to make a decision right away, which will ultimately lead to a better outcome. Now, although we just went over some situations where procrastinating can be a good thing, that doesn't mean that we should just put things off all the time. Procrastination can be a dangerous habit when it's done excessively. It can lead to missed opportunities, decreased productivity, and increased stress levels. That's why it's important to be aware of the negative effects of procrastination and to take steps to avoid it when possible. To do this effectively, you need to first understand the psychology behind procrastination and how our brain can trick us into delaying tasks. The first thing you need to realize is that procrastination is not always intentional. Sometimes we don't even know that we're doing it. For example, let's say you have a project due in a week, but you find yourself constantly putting it off. You tell yourself that you'll start working on it tomorrow, but tomorrow comes and goes without you making any progress. And the reason for this is because your brain is tricking you into thinking that the task is less urgent than it really is. This is called the emotionality bias. Our brain is wired to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term rewards. That's why it's easier for us to watch a video on YouTube than to sit down and write an essay. It's more fun to scroll through social media than it is to read a book. Our brain is essentially telling us to do whatever is most enjoyable at the moment, regardless of the consequences. But here's the thing, sometimes this can actually be a good thing. Let's say you're bored and have nothing to do. Your brain will naturally try to find something more stimulating to do, like watching a video on YouTube or scrolling through social media. But once you find something that you're interested in, it can be hard to stop. You might find yourself watching video after video or scrolling through post after post without realizing it. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. After all, it's not like it's harmful to watch a video or scroll through social media. In fact, it can be quite enjoyable. The problem arises when we let our brain take control of our actions. Instead of being in control of our brain, we become slaves to its impulses. And this is where procrastination comes in. Take the essay I mentioned earlier. Your brain is telling you to put it off because it knows that writing it will be boring and tedious, whereas watching videos on YouTube will be more fun and enjoyable. But if you give in to your brain's impulses and start watching videos, you will procrastinate and the essay will still be there staring at you at the end of the week. That's why it's important to be aware of our brain's tricks and to resist the urge to procrastinate when it happens. By understanding the psychology of procrastination, we can learn to recognize the signs and take control of our actions before it's too late. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to watch this next one.